everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. As we promised, 2020 is going to be just a phenomenal year, and to show how badass the movies are that we're going to talk about, this week we're starting with... Oh, fuck. Okay, so next week it gets real good, but we're starting with Bloody Murder 2.
Closing Camp.
From 2003, as picked by... which one of us would have picked this one?
Drum roll, please. Me!
All right, Brian. Why?
Blockbuster, baby. Blockbuster. Passed this title fucking my whole life. I said, oh, I got to see that. And like, yo, I was telling Matt, this is the second time I got shim-shammed.
What?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I don't like Friday the 13th movies that much. We talked about that when we did Friday the 13th. Even as a child, they never did anything for me. But I love the idea of a hockey mask. And for Shriek, if you know what I did last summer, the cover had the killer with a hockey mask, which he had for about 3 minutes, and then his mask catches on fire, and it's the Scream mask. And then this one was just Buckethead.
Yeah. This was the lowest effort outfit I've ever fucking seen.
Dude, it is... this one's rough.
But the cover, when I was a kid, oh man, the hockey mask with the hook.
And he doesn't use a hook either.
No.
This movie defies fucking logic, and it starts with the cover.
And both of them, the 1 and 2 have the hockey mask. I don't understand.
Yeah, and I saw one, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. I was asked to be part of a live commentary track for Bloody Murder in a movie theater in Harrisburg for their Halloween all-night movie marathon, and that was their kickoff. It was a group called Down in the Front, and it was a bunch of local comedians, and they always had a guest, and they asked me to be the guest, and Jesus, that
Why
was
would you
tough.
even pick this movie as
I didn't.
No, not you. I mean them. They were like, oh yeah, let's kick off this movie marathon with the movie that will make people not want to stick around.
Because it was on a Friday the 13th, so they were like, let's start with a really bad Friday the 13th ripoff movie based on the cover.
There are better Friday the 13th ripoffs.
Now, I mean, also probably since they were charging money for tickets, probably also really cheap to get the rights to screen Bloody Murder.
Gotcha. Yeah.
This movie, right out the gate, the opening scene, they are trying to make it feel like something special. You know what I mean? It's trying to be something. I don't know what it was trying to be, but it was trying to be something with this weird, artsy. There's a couple camera shots that are just trying so hard to be artsy. It's funny because the lack of audio transitions between scenes really shows the low effort on the actual filmmaking.
Oh man, can we even talk about the fact that the ADR is so bad? The worst thing about this ADR is that they did it in an untreated room. They're literally in a high school classroom, and the reflections are just killing me because oh my God, because they're outside. And they're talking in front of the cabin in that second scene, I suppose. And it sounds like they're in a classroom. And I'm like, there are no reflections if you're outside.
Well, they because they have the scene that I was talking to Brian about this earlier, but that it's poor filmmaking. One of the quickest signs of poor filmmaking is if a scene transitions to the next scene and the audio just drops entirely during the transition.
Yeah.
You're just oh wow, they did not know what they were doing in the editing room.
But that also, I get it, because there's times where if someone is hey, I don't have a lot of money, I really can't afford this, but I really want your services, I'll give them 110%. But every time I deal with a big company and they're just being cheap, it's okay, I'm not color grading this. The transitions I don't care if the transitions are in sync with the music. I'm not going to put as much effort to someone that hires me and is just cutting costs left and right. And I feel like that's what happened with the editor here.
Oh yeah. They probably called up the editor. It's we can't pay you with money.
Yeah.
But here's some
a case of beer.
yeah, it's those memes about look at the food I'm buying with this free promotion.
Yeah.
Well, that's like I think the Hard Times had a headline recently that was like, friend gets $150,000 worth of free labor via pizza and beer. The acting in this movie is another thing we need to talk about, because there is a scene between I wrote the bad boy because I don't think I knew his name at this time. Mike and Rick. That is like soap opera level of fight. It's just like, I know you did it, Mike. And he's like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
Man, we're not even there yet, because the in that second scene after her like weird stupid dream sequence that is just so dumb and so bad, she wakes up and
the roommate just being, another dream. Yeah.
And she's like she's sitting on the bed drinking like a latte, and I'm like, there's no fucking cappuccino machine at the camp.
She walked down to the Starbucks and grabbed one real quick.
She's like, she's holding for people who haven't seen this movie, you're very lucky, but you don't. But let me set the scene. So they're both wearing like shorty shorts. They're falling asleep, and so this movie came out in what, 2000?
2003.
Okay, well that's fine. 2003. The girls both wake up and they're wearing like spaghetti strap midriff tank tops and booty shorts, basically. And so the one wakes up with makeup on, as women do, and she rolls over from her nightmare, and her cabin mate, best friend, whatever, is drinking this latte out of a gigantic mug, like those mugs that you put two hands around, a ceramic mug, and she's just like holding it. And she's like, yeah, the same dream. Yeah. But the thing that I really want to talk about is that we get an authentic "what's up" in this movie.
Oh, 100. If that doesn't tell you what the time was that they were shooting this movie. I have this one quote written down. I think this is how it's delivered. But they're sitting around, they're trying to figure out something to do to pass the time, and the one person goes, how about a game of bloody murder?
And that's what pissed me off is, I get budgets not having a budget, but the goof kill was a better mask than what the killer had.
Yeah.
They should have given that guy this mask and then the killer the hockey mask, and the movie would have not been great, but still we would have made happy. Progress,
Dude, this movie's such a paint by numbers slasher film, but like with none of the care or effort or like
such a cash in.
Like not even the blood. Like I have a note here that says that I'm pretty sure they made about a quart of blood and just had to make it work for the whole movie. Because like people will get their blood slit and then it cuts to a wall and it's like if someone just flicked a paintbrush and like little spackle pieces hit the wall. It's awful, man.
And this, as much as I don't want to defend this movie, we've just been watching a lot of slashers on this show lately where it is like Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they get a minor cut. There's so much blood that has been spraying on walls that doesn't make sense in the last 4 movies we've watched.
Which is fair, but like, I don't know, man. This movie also has, I'll read exactly what my note says. It wouldn't be a low-budget horror movie without an exposition scene delivered with zero emotions.
Yeah. None of these people can act. None.
No, it is the most monotone, like, yes, my brother came up here. He was never found.
Also, why the fuck would she come back to the work at the camp where her brother disappeared?
Yeah, I don't understand that. No, that's weird. Like, I still personally was weirded out when you lived at Aunt Lisa's and Julie lived at Aunt Lisa's. And that wasn't even that bad. It was just like, oh, they're living in this house that I watched someone slowly die for a week. I would never go back to a camp that someone that I loved was viciously murdered.
Well, they never found him, so maybe he's alive.
I kept thinking that would be the twist. It was like, maybe the killer is her brother.
These twists were so dumb.
Dude, it was the most underwhelming reveals and twists I've ever seen, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we've got a lot of ground to cover.
We've got to talk about 2 scenes that I hated on principle. And number one is the Latina doomsayer, where it's not enough that she talks in like the most stereotypical accent they could, but that there's mariachi music playing behind her whenever she's on screen.
Oh, I missed that. But all I wrote down that it bothered me that they made her like do the cross on herself every time she would talk about, what's the name of the killer in this movie? Trevor Morehouse.
You know, it rolls right off the tongue like Jason and Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers. Trevor Morehouse.
Yeah. Well, anyway, every time she says his name, she has to do the cross sign on herself, and I'm like, you are so offensive. But Matt found the trifecta.
Well, and then it's only made worse by like, there's a scene in this movie that I have seen done well before. I can't remember where, but it is not done well here with the hyper meta, I'm black, you're a woman, which one of us is in a worse situation in a horror movie conversation.
Isn't that guy's name named Elvis?
Yes, Elvis, who has the logic in this movie where she's like, I don't know, things are weird. And he's like, I don't see what's weird. So-and-so left a note that he quit and the other person sent a page. Clearly.
Oh, man, the pagers.
This movie
must have sat on a shelf for 2 years, or it must have taken them 2 years to do it, because whoever wrote this is a moron. In 2003, I had a fucking cell phone.
Yeah. I'm going to see when Bloody Murder came out real quick, just to refresh me, because I think it was not that far behind.
So I want to talk about the women in this.
2000. Okay, so Bloody Murder came out in 2000. So it was a 3-year waiting period.
I swore this was 90s.
They were clamoring.
I think that there was probably something where they had done most of it before cell phones were a thing, because like I had a phone in my car that you had to turn on to call someone. It's not like you had it with you at all times. I mean, like I had a cell phone. It wasn't a car phone, but I had a cell phone.
I was going to say, man, riding big.
No, I had a cell phone in 2000. It was in the car for emergencies. So I don't know why they were like, yeah, pagers. Pagers are fine in 2003. I was in college and I had I've had the same cell phone number. Anybody listening that has my cell phone number from high school, it's the same number.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to think what else is in here. You've got the heartbreak to sex rebound.
Oh man, wait. Can we just talk about Tiffany Shepis in this movie?
Sure.
So she's an awful actress. She's basically the knockoff Fairuza Balk, kind of like her outfit and her personality and stuff. If you ever look at her IMDb, it's wild. That woman has hundreds of movies under her belt, and none of them are memorable. But she's just like really gung-ho about getting naked.
Yeah, she's really okay with being nude.
A lot. And the thing that I find so odd about this film is the fact that the sex scenes are the ones that have the most care. It's like they linger. I was uncomfortable watching them. I didn't even really watch them. I kind of like, looking through my fingers like a little boy who was embarrassed about his little boy boner.
Yeah, but that's because you can just feel the director.
Yes.
You know?
Okay, that's exactly.
It's like, okay, now he cut your leg off. Oh, my leg. All right, good. One take. All right, now shower. All right, now.
We're going to need a couple takes for this one.
Now blow on her nipple.
Man, and
yeah, this was directed by the guy from Return to Horror High for sure.
Oh, man. But the other thing about it is that all the girls' outfits, and I don't mean to linger on this like the director lingering on Tiffany Shepis' breasts, but these outfits they were kind of doing it for me, because every girl is wearing like,
but wildly inappropriate for a children's camp counselor to be wearing.
But for me in 2003, it would have been fine. Hell, in 2000, let's just say that this movie was made in 2000 and then sat on a shelf. And goddamn, but yeah, they're all wearing like the low rise flare leg jeans that every girl wore when I was in high school, and the little spaghetti strap tank tops that were like they all have like 6 inches of belly showing, and they're all in very good shape. So it was just like, if I would have watched this in high school, I probably would have had a good time. But
yeah. You'd have been like, best movie ever.
It's no Little Witches, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Dude, how about there's the scene where they have sex and then she finds the corpse.
Oh man, he's like, I gotta go. They can't see me like I fucked you just now.
Yeah. Well, beyond that, like, again, back on like the lo-fi no budget, that is some of the cheapest corpse makeup I have ever
Oh,
seen.
and there's a more egregious issue than the bad makeup. He was murdered a couple hours ago, and now he has worms crawling out of his throat.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
But I'll tell you what the director was really proud of. He may not have gave a shit about the acting or the sound or the makeup, but you know that he was proud as shit about this fisheye lens tracking shot as they arrested dude, where it's like following him, and then the cop car moves away, and then it pans back over to the girl standing right behind the cop car, and I was like, dude, I bet they did more takes of that fucking scene than anything in this movie.
I don't know. What about the shower scenes?
Oh yeah, well that.
Okay, second to the shower scenes. But there is one thing. So most of this movie, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it was dull. I wasn't really having a good time because as bad as it is, it's not sick. You know what I mean? Like,
that is the thing. That's what I wanted to talk about. Is like, you guys remember Sick and how bad it was, but how fond I am of it.
Well, because there's something in the incompetence of Sick that's constantly entertaining because everyone is just given 100% when they really shouldn't be. Everyone in this movie is given like 5% the whole time. But there was one moment where I laughed my ass off, and it's when she's investigating the footage that she found in the camera, and it's a close-up of the mouse just constantly clicking the zoom in button to find
enhance.
It's so, I can't even explain why it's so funny to me, but it's just so outrageous. It's the most outrageous lack of understanding of computers or videos or anything I've ever seen in like a shitty movie. Oh my god. Scott, I think you already sent me the image, but I hope one of the images for this episode is just the picture of a mouse.
It's not, because I didn't know what I was in for when I did the images, but I can get new ones now that I know exactly what we're dealing with here.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then, yeah, we finally get the most lackluster reveal of the killers. The killer.
What doesn't make any sense to me is if the dad of Trevor Morehouse is the killer, he's the one who's killed everybody this time around, right? That's the
I think, or did he kill him? No, he killed him the first time too, because he said he killed her brother.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry. This movie's so uncomfortable. I hate to keep coming back to the women and their outfits and stuff, but they're also I don't know when they were filming this, but it must have been cold outside because the survivor girl is cutting glass in every scene, and it's very distracting and uncomfortable, and it's so distracting that Mike can't look her in the eyes in most of his scenes because he's staring at her nipples. I'm so uncomfortable. Oh my God. But the other thing about it is that the girl who plays Sophie, she's the one who's like bad dream. She's the bunkmate, you know?
Yeah.
Her name is Amanda Megarian, I want to say. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But I looked her up. She doesn't really have an IMDb except for fucking Bloody Murder 2. So I looked her up, Googled her. She has a Wikipedia page. She is a retired American pair skater. Most notably, she skated with Jared Guzman for several years and won the pewter medal at the 2000 U.S. Figure Skating Championships. So she went from getting a pewter medal, I don't know if that's like second place, I don't know, in 2000 to doing Bloody Murder 2.
3 years later.
Oh man. Girl. So I just really wanted to point out how many failures this movie encompasses.
Here's the thing. I know that this is not a movie that you sit there and talk logic about, but like the killer could have gotten away if he just
didn't tell everybody.
Shut his mouth. Yeah. If he just kept up the facade that he was the sheriff and just let all of the blame fall on Mike. problem solved.
I would have been totally fine with Mike getting the blame pinned on him because he's such a douche.
Yeah.
So Brian, thank you for this.
You guys are welcome. Happy New Year.
You know what? I'm just gonna say, like over at the Patreon, if you go to check that out, there might be, maybe we're having an intervention for someone here.
Yeah, you definitely want to join our Patreon. Listen to all of the amazing bonus material that we do there on a weekly basis. You can double your HMN consumption, I guess. And you can hear us try to talk some sense into Brian and his problem with picking movies that he's never watched before.
Spoiler alert, it didn't work.
All right, so before you go and jump over to that Patreon, first we got to talk about some double features. So Brian, what double feature would you rock with Bloody Murder 2?
Ooh, I would pair Bloody Murder 2 with what's that minor movie called?
My Bloody Valentine.
Oh. No. Gold Mine. Miner's Massacre.
What?
I would pair it with Miner's Massacre.
I love how you guys are both like, no, that's not the movie. When any normal, sane person would be like, yeah, the Miner Killer movie. It's fucking My Bloody Valentine.
I knew what he was talking about because...
Also a Blockbuster buy.
Yeah, he bought it at Blockbuster on VHS. It's sitting in our basement still. I know I've yet to watch it.
I watched it. I watched it at 13 and said, this is bad. So imagine what 29-year-old me would say.
That's so funny, that whole idea of, like, if it was bad when we were young and impressionable. Because I mentioned Little Witches, and that movie was... Have you guys seen that movie? I've talked about it before on the show a little bit.
Yeah, I remember the cover. I've never actually seen the movie.
I don't think it's what I'm thinking of. Oh, no, it's not. I was thinking of the one with Matilda.
Matilda?
The girl who played Matilda.
One Simple Witch?
Yes.
With Martin Short?
Yes. Yeah, where the woman gets turned into a dog. Classic.
No.
But Little Witches has the white trash queen of the 90s. I love her, actually.
Oh, man.
Fairuza Balk.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Little Witches doesn't have Fairuza Balk in it.
Well, all I did was look at a cover, and I am going to send this to you guys because that is Fairuza Balk if I've ever seen it.
It's not Fairuza Balk. It's supposed to look like Fairuza Balk because they're ripping off The Craft.
The Craft.
And that's why I wanted to watch it because I loved The Craft. And so I rent Little Witches, and I swear to God, if Tiffany Shepis is actually in that movie, I will eat my hat. But it's so bad, and there's so much nudity that is very not good. And
I realize who that is now.
Doesn't it look like her though?
It's supposed to look like her.
Yeah, but you know who it actually is?
Who?
It's I can never pronounce her name. Clea Duvall.
Clea Duvall is not in Little Witches. No way.
Yeah, she is. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, she's the cast. She's on the cast list on IMDb.
Oh, fuck.
Wow. Clea Duvall was in that? 1996. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was her film debut.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Zelda Rubinstein.
Wow. Man, if I was more like Brian, we'd be doing an episode on Little Witches.
Oh, well, just wait, because I have a pitch for you guys after this episode.
Can I just say no immediately?
You might like it if you are confident in your ability to win.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yes, I'm going to like it because I like to win. All right. Anyway.
The Kansas City Star named it the worst video of 1996.
Hey, I'm going to tell you guys, I watched it, and even with the gratuitous nudity and me being like, I will watch any horror movie, it still is burnt in my brain as one of the worst movies I saw as a teenager.
I'm just looking at the first goof that's written, and it says, when the girls gather around the window of room 24, sunlight is clearly shining through behind the curtain, yet when they go outside to investigate, it's clearly night. I'm excited.
All right, so for my double feature, Serial Insane Clown Killer obviously is what I'm going to watch after Bloody Murder 2.
Listen, you start with Bloody Murder 2, and then it's just priming the pump. Because Sick is quite possibly the best worst movie that I've ever seen.
I promised. I've been threatening that movie for years.
No, but the thing is that I think that I'll have to listen back to the episode, but I was literally like a couple minutes into the movie, and I was like, oh yes. It's kind of like, you like having poison ivy. You're like, oh, I shouldn't itch this. And then you just scratch around the sides of it, and you're like, oh, that's the stuff. And then you just can't stop yourself from scratching on the thing, and then you get poison ivy goo all over your hand. And yeah, that's what watching Sick is like.
And Scott, did you pick Little Witches as your double feature?
I didn't do a double feature, but I think truly Little Witches has to be the double feature just because I've talked about it so much this episode.
Now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about, you guys watch anything worth talking about?
Can I start?
Not really.
Yeah, go for it.
So I know that I was messaging you guys about this yesterday, but I just want everybody to know that Megan inflicted Inside Out upon me, and I hated it. I pieced out after like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, we said our words on it. I'm going to move on.
Oh, it just hurts you so bad. Oh, one thing I don't even want to. Mandalorian's fucking awesome. So it'll be done by the time this comes out. So, but yeah, it's so super good. I'm obsessed with Baby Yoda. Everybody knows it.
That's all I was going to talk about too.
Okay.
It was like every week I feel like I just want to bring up Mandalorian because every week I love the episode. But I liked it. I can't think of an episode I really didn't like.
I like the episode with him and the smugglers that came out last week.
Yeah, that was a really fun one.
So what I didn't like about this episode, but I actually love about this episode, it just killed me, is like, although it tells a consistent story, there's no to be continued episodes, and the newest one was a to be continued episode, and it just happened at the worst time where I was like, I can't believe I have to wait. Yeah, like I have to wait a fucking week.
I love how we're so
we're so in 2020 now. Yeah.
Well, so like I will say that the coolest thing for me is like I've always said that IG-88 was like my favorite bounty hunter. Just from reading the Kevin Anderson book Tales of the Bounty Hunters, like he just makes IG-88 seem like such a badass. And in that first episode, finally seeing how an IG unit fights, I was like, dude,
how do you even defend yourself from an IG?
I know. I was
so
like, that
overpowered.
Thing looks so badass. It's so cool.
And it's pretty funny that that's Taika Waititi's voice. Do you guys ever just kind of have a sick fascination with the suggested movies when we watch stuff on Prime?
Yeah, I was actually looking at the suggested movies on Bloody Murder too, and boy,
they're insane. They're insane.
Boy.
Like, I don't even how in the fuck are there like 4 slasher camp movies or something? I can't remember what they're called, but like there's like parts 8 and 9 of these other series that I've never fucking heard of, and it just boggles the mind.
Yeah, when I got to like the 8th or 7th, because I literally scrolled through the suggestions just for the hell of it, and I was like almost offended that Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 were on the people also watched.
Well, I would say probably people watched those and then got sucked into watching Bloody Murder 2 because they're like, oh yeah, like I love Sleepaway Camp, but this can't be that bad. And it's similar.
And they were.
Yeah, they really need to give like a you know how like on Netflix when you used to do the star ratings, it would be like, here's like the average score between everybody who's rated this movie. Like Amazon Prime needs like here's around the timestamp that everyone shut off this movie. This is the average point that people gave up. So for my thing that I watched, I know that the holiday season is over by the time this comes out, but I will say that it
never ends for Matt Kelly.
No, never. There was one movie that came out on Netflix that I've watched 2 times. I'll probably watch it a 3rd time because it's just a good movie, and I think Scott might actually like it, which is why I'm bringing it up.
I already saw it.
Let It Snow.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say Noelle.
No, Noelle's great too. But on Netflix, there's a movie called Let It Snow, and it is, the way that I described it is, it's Can't Hardly Wait and Empire Records on Christmas Eve. It's a tale of a group of teenagers all trying to go to the same party, and it's their individual stories of what's happening with them trying to go to the party. So like one kid stole a keg to take to the party, and he's being chased down by the people that he stole the keg from, and like another girl has a weird encounter with a famous musician and spends the day hanging out with them, and there's like a guy who's afraid to tell the girl that he's been friends with for years that he loves her story. Like, but you're just following all these little like very 90s teen flick cliches as they're all just trying to go hang out at this Christmas party at the end of the movie.
Wow,
so
I love it.
Yeah, it was
I'm
just
into it.
It's super charming. I had a really good time with it, so I highly recommend it. And I kind of like that there's almost no Christmas music in it. Like all the music that they listen to is like 70s rock, 70s and 80s rock. So it introduced the song, which I guess it was a hit, but I had never heard of it. The Waterboys, The Whole of the Moon. And it's a good ass little jam. So I recommend that song as well. But all right. So is there everyone say their piece? We got Mandalorian in there. We got Inside Out. We got Let It Snow. All right. Well then, that was Bloody Murder 2 as picked by Brian. Check out our Patreon where we try to work with Brian on maybe not picking Bloody Murder 1 or 3 if there is a 3. Thank God there's not. And we will be back next week with another sequel, this time picked by Scott, a much better sequel, I will say. Sorry to play my hand too early on that one. But you will have to check out next week to find out what that movie is, or you could donate $10 a month to the Patreon where you've already gotten the episode. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All right. Well, we will be back next week. Hit us up on all of our social media, and please don't forget to give us a 5-star review. Rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. We will be reading the 5-star reviews on this show starting probably in February or March. I think is when we'll actually be recording at the time that those reviews have been posted. But thank you so much for all of your time. We love you. Goodbye.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.